Right, welcome back guys once again to Did Reviews. So today I'm going to do something a little bit different. Been wanting to do a mini ITX build for a while. As you've seen in one of my other videos you may have seen, I'm doing an Xbox One sort of build. But in the meantime, while I still figure a few things out with that, I managed to get my hands on this for quite a good price. This is the Metallicgear Neo Mini. This is the version 1. There is a version 2 now out. So we're just going to talk through the case and then we're going to get a build done. I'll also talk you through the parts of what sort of parts we're using in this. It is going to be a strange one, but you'll see that in a second. So let's have a look at the case. So as you can see, Mini ITX, got this nice tempered glass panel on the side here, which just comes undone from a few thumb screws. So just thumb tight, finger tight should I say, and we can get into the case and have a look a bit closer. As you can see, it's got this nice sort of pattern on it here, which is quite nice to see. A little bit different, not just a standard plain tempered glass panel, and that then just slides off like that. So let's have a look at that. So if we have a look inside, we've got the usual stuff really. Mini ITX, obviously space on it, only Mini ITX, can't take any other size motherboards. Down here we've got space for a dual slot graphics card. We're going to be using a 3080 today in this one, so it's going to be a bit of a mini little beast. And also a good thing about this one, even though it is a Mini ITX case, obviously it's not the smallest in the world, you can get a full ATX power supply up here, so that's going to be good, because the Mini ITX power supply I've got, the SFX, is probably not powerful enough for this system, so we can use a standard one in there and have enough power. Other than that, we've got space for a 120mm fan at the rear. We've got the usual, obviously, I/O cutouts. And then inside, we've got, at the front, we can remove this panel here, which I will try and get off there. And we've got this nice steel panel, really tough steel there, really thick actually. And it's got basically these little standoffs here, to give you airflow inside there. So the airflow doesn't look amazing in here, however there is airflow from the bottom, which will be mainly used for the graphics card, which I'll show you in a second. So the airflow is not obviously going to be great, I don't think, but we'll find out. We'll see how it turns out, and this is just held on by these little studs here. So that comes off, and then in the front here we can get up to two 140mm fans in there, or 280 radiator up to. So there's plenty of room for water cooling. I might do a water cooling build in this, but it will be with some older equipment. So if you want to see that, let me know in the comment section below, and I'll get on that and do that as well. Something I might just do anyway, because I feel like it'd be quite a good little project to do, and will look really cool. Like I said, at the bottom, a dust filter here. So there's intake here for your graphics card. So you're going to get fresh air straight up there, and also there is little feet on the bottom to stand it off to get air up there. So it shouldn't be too much of a problem. Other than that, we've also got on the inside, if I just spin this round and take the back panel off, which is just two captive thumb screws. I love a good captive thumb screw, so you don't lose them, which is really good. That just comes off like that, and as you can see here, there is a dust filter, and I'll get to why that is now. You can see just inside here, there's this little plastic panel which we can push out, as you see like that. Little plastic panel comes out, so you can keep that in there if you're not going to be using this. But this is definitely something I'll use for a water cool build if I do one, which I hopefully will be. You can put up to 240mm fans in the side as well, so you can have a 240mm radiator there. And there's lots of space, lots of depth in the case, for you to get quite a thick radiator in there as well. So hopefully we're going to be able to do that. Obviously then you've got to decide how you're going to get if you've got enough room to get your radiator res pump installed as well. So that's that. Nothing to tell you about the top other than the power button on the top. Just power button there. That's pretty much it for that. And then your I/O is at the side here, side of the front panel, and obviously you've got two USB A's. You've got a button for changing RGB lights. It does have like a built-in RGB controller, but it's just standard 12 volt non-ARGB, so we won't be using that today. We'll just use that as a reset button as normal. And then we've got headphone jack and microphone jack there at the front, separate for front panel audio, which not many people use really, but we'll plug it in anyway. And then let's turn around to the back. Here we've got space here for two 2.5-inch SSDs. I don't see any space at all for hard drives. There probably is some way you can fit one in somewhere. but we won't be using those in these builds because there just isn't the room. And this little panel here actually comes off as well. This panel comes here, which is to put your SSDs on. So we'll probably remove that because I won't be using SSDs, or I might use one, I'm not sure yet. But we'll put that to one side. And then the last thing to tell you about really is cable management up here. So your power supply goes up at the top in this one, and you've got these Velcro tie down points up here, which hopefully should give us plenty of place to put the cables and keep them nice and tidy. And you've got a bit of a channel down the middle here with tie down points for tie wraps. So yeah, plenty of space for cable management hopefully, but we'll see how we get on. So now I'll tell you about the parts we're going to be using in this, and then we'll get into the build. Right, so these are the parts we're going to be using in the build today. Now, before you comment in the comment section below, I know these are going to be very mismatched, and it's not something I would recommend. But this build is just to show you what you can do in terms of a Mini RTX case, kind of showcase the case more than anything, how you can build in it and what sort of things you can fit in it. So I will basically tell you what I would more recommend with these parts. So first of all, CPU, we're going for a i3 10100F. Yes, I know I said we've got a 38 in it, so I wouldn't recommend this at all. If you were going for this sort of build, I would say at least a 10600 maybe, or 11600 if you're going for the new stuff. But yeah, we're going for a 10100F, but we are going to be aiming for 1440, just to see how it performs, if actually it is a bad idea using this. So yeah. And then this is again another budget component, but these are all the parts I have at the moment. I don't have anything else. I have to pay for all this out of my own pocket, so I don't have anything really high end. Hopefully one day when the channel gets bigger, then yeah, we can start doing really high end stuff. But we're using the Asrock B460M-ITX, so it's a perfect partnership for the 10100, but not a perfect partnership for the rest of it, really. And so that's what we're using for that. Then power supply, we're going to be using the Aerocool Cylon 700 watt. This is a semi-modular unit, so that's going to be more than enough power for this system, hopefully. For a cooler, as it's a Mini ITX build, can't fit too much in it. However, this one you can fit up to 240, but the only one that's got a spare at the moment, and it is for a 10100, so it doesn't need to be anything absolutely massive, is the Mirage L120, which I did a video about a few weeks ago. So check that out if you want to find out more about this. But this is going to be on the 10100F, which will be more than capable of cooling a 10100 because they don't output much heat at all. And then this is the one that's going to shock you mostly. RTX 3080 Founders Edition is going to be going in the system. Like I say, I don't recommend this. If you're going to be doing a build with a 3080, then you wouldn't be looking at a B460 and a 10100F. You wouldn't do it. It's just not normal. It's very unbalanced. You'd probably be looking, like I say, at least a 10600 and a Z490, I believe is the board, or Z590 if you're going for 11th gen, or obviously X570, that kind of thing for AMD systems. But this is what I've got. Like I said, I don't have everything. I don't have all the best stuff, so I'm just making do with what I've got. But another point of this video, because I'm doing this, it's going to actually allow me to show you actually how bad having an i3 is with a 3080. Actually, is it possible to do it? Well, obviously it's possible, but is it really that bad? So we'll have a look at the benchmark results at the end, so hopefully it'll give you a little bit of insight if you are, for some reason, wanting to do sort of a build like this and save money down here so you can afford one of these, then is it such a bad idea? And we'll find out in this video. Now, other bits I haven't got on the table because they're currently in another system at the moment is RAM. I'm using some Corsair's 3000 MHz RGB, not the RGB Pro, the new one. It's the old standard non-addressable RGB memory because, again, it's just what I've got to hand. And I'm using a Samsung 970 EVO, only a 256 gigabyte one because that's all I've got again. But it's enough for us to get the operating system on, get a couple of games just to do some testing. I'll get like Shadow of the Tomb Raider, things like that, and we can see how it performs. So it's enough to do that. Obviously, again, I wouldn't recommend having only 256 gigabyte because it's not enough for many games at all, especially if you're using Call of Duty. It'll be pretty much gone within that one game. So yeah, anyway, let's get into the build. I'll show you how it comes together, and then we'll talk about it at the end and we'll do some testing. Cheers. Right, so there we have the ITX build with a 3080 in the Neo Mini from Metallicgear. Now, from the pictures, I hope you think like me, it looks absolutely fantastic, it looks really good. There's a lot of stuff crammed into a very small space. So yeah, I'm quite pleased with how it turned out. Now, I know this is going to trigger a lot of people putting a 3080 with an i3, and it's part of the reason I want to do this video. The other reason is this is literally all I have, but I just wanted to showcase the case, do a little mini ITX build, and show you what sort of thing you can do. So this is more about what you can do with this mini ITX case, what you can do with small form factors, and how they kind of look, that kind of thing really, more than it is performance. So it's just the stuff I've got in there just to do a build, basically, just to show you guys, inspire you guys of what you can do. As you can see, it's absolutely littered with RGB, lots of Aerocool stuff in there. The Aerocool power supply came from Aerocool themselves, so thanks again for sending that out. So yeah, anyway, so we will talk about performance, and I didn't expect it to be quite this bad, so but I wanted to also look into how an i3 and a 3080 would perform together, and I didn't expect it to be quite this bad. So the testing I just did Shadow of the Tomb Raider and I did Time Spy just to get a sort of brief look at what the difference is. It might be different in different games, but this shows you sort of how bad it can be if you've got an underpowered CPU for an overpowered graphics card. So definitely wouldn't recommend doing this. Like I say, it's going to trigger a few people seeing this. Definitely wouldn't recommend it, so don't do it. Get a higher CPU, so I'd probably 11600 or 10600, something like that, would be a better match for a 3080. More if you can afford it, obviously, but the i3 10100F is just no match for the 3080. So anyway, the results. So Shadow of the Tomb Raider, 1080p, high settings on all of these, 1080p, 102 average frames per second. Comparing that with, in this system behind me, the 5900X is the CPU in this one, 185 frames on average, so you're losing a massive amount. Yeah, you're losing a lot. I'll put the percentage up on the screen. Then we went on to 1440, where I thought it might get a bit better, and you start to see some of the CPU deficit disappear. It might happen in 4K, but I've not been able to do any testing on 4K, unfortunately. But 1440p, average of 97 frames per second. I actually thought this might do better than the 1080 because it's obviously more GPU bound. But comparing that to, on the 5900X, 152 frames on average at 1440p. So again, losing an absolute huge amount. So definitely don't do this. Do not put an i3 and a 3080 together. It is definitely not recommended. And then I went on to Time Spy, like I said, just to, again, having another comparison to see what happens. Oh, sorry, before I do that, I did RTX as well, just to try and put even more onto the GPU, to try and alleviate the CPU's sort of bottleneck, and it didn't work great. It wasn't as much of a gap, but it didn't work amazing. So with RTX on Ultra on Shadow of the Tomb Raider, for the i3 I got an average of 76 frames per second, not too bad, but with the 5900X I got 95, so it's still quite a big gap there. Doesn't look as big a gap, but yeah, it's not great. Then I'll say Time Spy with the i3 got 9811, and with the 5900X 17410. So yeah, don't do it. That's it, conclusive basically. Do not put an i3 and a 3080 together. I know I've said it already, but yeah, just don't do it. It is really bad. Anyway, temperatures for the case, not too bad. The CPU, whilst running Shadow of the Tomb Raider, only got to maximum 41, average of 37. So yeah, not too bad at all. GPU got to 68 on average and 74 max, so it is quite high. But there isn't a great deal of airflow getting to the graphics card. It's literally just taking air from underneath, and there's only a small gap. But it's not too shabby, not too bad at all. With a better not a better graphics card, but a different model, so an AIB card with more cooling on it, you probably get a better result. But obviously the FE that I'm using in this system, not quite up to the task for this. But so I also ran a temperature check whilst I was doing Time Spy, and whilst doing Time Spy, it wasn't actually that bad. 49 average, 66 maximum, so a bit better there. So I'm not sure why Shadow of the Tomb Raider was hammering the GPU so much. in terms of temperature, I'm not sure. And the CPU got hotter for some reason. Oh, I know why it got hotter, because it's a CPU test. And that got an average of 31 and a maximum of 47. So again, not bad at all. The little Aerocool Mirage 120 cooler's done an absolutely perfect job for this CPU. And that's kind of CPU up to say 10400, 10600 maybe. I'd recommend that cooler for. Anything more than go for a 240. But yeah, that's it. So results are a lot worse than I thought they were going to be. But I think the build looks really good. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like. Please don't forget to subscribe. Everything helps for me, and leave any comments in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.